This is Feature Minor. So there's a major Hollywood film producer who goes by the name of Roger Avery. He did work with Quentin Tarantino on the movie Pulp Fiction and he even won an Academy Award for that work he did on that film. So he's a screenwriter and a movie director, and he was recently on a Joe Rogan podcast, and he went on and on about the flat earth. At one point in the interview, he even suggested that the subject of the flat earth might have inspired him to maybe implement the idea into a major Hollywood movie. You never know. I mean, he kind of was throwing around the idea in this interview. So I'm going to play some clips for you so you can check it out for yourself, because this guy just basically covered everything there is to cover about the flat earth with Joe Rogan. So it started off with him talking about how basically the James Webb telescope is giving everyone cartoon pictures. And then he goes in to talk about how basically the shape of the earth could be the biggest deception in the world. This guy is super interested in the topic. At the end of the interview, he even suggested that Joe Rogan gets Eric Dubay on his show. And so Roger Avery was discussing how you see the earth as flat in your everyday to day life. That's all you experience in life is a flat earth. And Rogan fires back at him talking about, well, it's basically just the scale. We're such a small species on this earth that we don't notice that we're living on a ball. And so they go back and forth for a while. And so Roger Avery basically is insisting that all we experience on this earth is flatness, and airplanes fly level. They don't correct for curvature. It basically takes faith to believe that you live on a ball. It's like a belief system, he's saying. He also brings up how airplanes don't fly over Antarctica. No one has ever proven that an airplane has flown across Antarctica and came up on the other side on a ball Earth. So Roger Avery talks about how the space station shows fisheye lens, and Joe Rogan actually pushed back against that until later on in the interview, Joe Rogan sees for himself that the space station actually is using a fisheye lens, because Roger Avery was able to show him the inverted curvature where it curves the opposite of a globe, and he saw it for himself. So they also noticed what they said to be was possible stitching when they were looking at the live space station feed. And not only that, the space station feed cut off on them as they were analyzing the footage while they were live on air. Check this out.
The idea is that, what we view is really just it's kind of a cartoon that's painted for us using all these formulas, and using radio telescopes. And so, things are not as they seem.
Well, they already have issues with the findings from the James Webb telescope.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's probably part of it. Yeah, I have to say, I'm a provocateur, and so I'm always interested in finding that which upsets people's, concepts of things. And that's partly because I'm a screenwriter and I'm looking for these kind of conflicts and interesting ideas and stuff like that. So take what I'm about to say with a grain of salt. But the big one, the biggest conspiracy theory that freaks everybody out is flat Earth. Now, I don't know what the Earth is, but experientially, through the testimony of the eyes, it is flat. And there is very little chance that I will ever in my life, or most of us will ever in our life, experience anything other than what is effectively a flat Earth. And the way laser sighting across large bodies of water, or navigation maps for air travel, for pilots, is always a presumption of a flat Earth. It's always in the pilot manuals and on maps.
How so?
Well, if you're flying a jet at low altitude, you're not making corrections for curvature, even though you're going fast enough where you should be. And so what's actually happening there? Well, and so the idea is, look, I don't know what the world is or what the realm that we're in is, but experientially, from my perspective in life, it is nothing but it's a flat Earth.
But what about travel routes? Like, what about when they fly over Antarctica?
They don't fly over.
But you can
Antarctica.
Watch the sun rise and fall.
They don't even fly from Cape down to Buenos Aires.
There's an understanding of the precession of the equinoxes.
They travel up into the other hemisphere and land in London or something, and then travel back down whenever you're doing a flight across the Atlantic. And so, when you look at it on a flat Earth map, and there are plenty of them,
satellite photographs of Earth from space.
Those are all cartoons.
What are you talking about?
I'm saying that even the NASA, the guys who actually do those composites, those are composite imagery. listen, I am not saying that.
But it seems like you're saying that the Earth is possibly flat.
I'm saying experientially.
Right.
From
but
your
that's a scale.
from your daily.
That's a scale issue, though.
Correct.
We're a tiny little thing on an enormous thing.
Correct.
But, snipers have to calculate for the curvature of the Earth when they shoot.
Only the curvature of the landscape that they're on.
Right. Why do you think the landscape curves?
The landscape doesn't curve. It is a mountainous and
not always.
uneven.
No, on flat plains you have to do the same thing. If you're making a long shot over a flat area, like if you had to shoot.
Well, then why don't pilots make adjustments?
I'm not a pilot. I don't know, but I do know that when you look at the film from the space station,
presume a flat Earth.
When you look at the film from the space
surface.
station, you see an Earth that's not just round but spinning.
I see. The space station, the International Space Station, is actually not high enough to see curvature, and what you're seeing is the lens distortion. And
it's not high enough to see curvature when you look out into the horizon?
It's actually even, it's very, very close to the...
Let's look at footage from the space station of Earth. So when you see satellite images that are taken of the Earth, you think they're lying? You think there's this grand conspiracy to piece all these pictures together and turn it into a circle instead of have it flat?
All I'm saying is that's the fundamental conspiracy theory that unravels everyone.
Well, it doesn't make any sense because everything that we see in the cosmos that's a planetary body is round, including stars. So it's all round, except for small moons. Everything is round, and that's because
I'm not even certain
that space exists.
That the moon is anything more than a plasma.
Plasma.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
That it's a plasma effect, a lenticular effect of some kind.
So that it's not a real thing, but it affects the tides. It is something that we have landed, at the very least, we've landed probes on.
We don't know that
Other
it affects the
countries
tides. People theorize
that it
affects the tides.
Footage from the space station. This is live footage from the space station.
And I'm saying that's lens curvature, and that what you're actually seeing.
Why do you think that's lens curvature?
And that what you're seeing is horizon.
So what you're talking about is like a fisheye lens.
If I'm trying to provoke you, that's what I'm saying.
Right, but let's not do that right now because I don't want you to be completely fucking insane. Because this is a round body, just like the moon, just like Mars, just like Jupiter, just like Uranus.
That appears to be but in your practical life experience, you have to accept a certain amount of faith, is what I'm getting at any moment.
But they understand the precession of the equinoxes. Okay, do you know that the precession of the equinoxes is how they measure the sky over a period of 26,000 years?
I see right there a little stitching, like right there.
So this would just keep going straight forever?
Do you see that line?
Yeah,
do you see that line right there? What is that?
What is that line?
Yeah, what is that line? Well, that looks like stitching to me. It looks like they've stitched together, and it crosses over there through that mountain range right there.
That is weird, whatever that is. But
so by your very example, I'm just saying that you have to have a certain amount of faith in that. And on the surface, mundus vult decepi.
Well, okay. You're freaking me out. Go back to that, Jamie. So what is the explanation? Go back a little bit.
Yeah, what is the explanation of that line right there?
I don't know.
Right, but how weird is that? That is weird that there's this line.
Right, because that
clear.
in itself is a composite image, a cartoon that has been put together for you to look at this apparent live imagery that is being taken. And
is this multiple images that are supposedly pieced together? Is that what they're...
I'm saying that things fall into, like, the way perspective works is that things appear to fall into the horizon. But now you use what is that camera? Is it a P200 camera where you can actually zoom in and lift things out of the horizon that have appeared to fall into the horizon?
This live video feed from the International Space Station has been interrupted
because you're watching too much.
Due to either a change in the onboard camera configuration or a loss of signal with the communications network. The video will return when the connection is reestablished. So this is during the live feed?
This isn't from NASA's YouTube channel. It's just down right now.
It's just down right now. Okay, so you're saying that this is like a fisheye effect of a lens.
Yeah, I'm saying
potentially.
I'm saying that, and that we can even see that whenever they're up there shooting with cameras outside, you're like, oh, there's the
do you know how many people...
there's the curvature, and then every now and then the camera turns and it inverts for a moment, then it goes back down.
I've never seen that.
I watch a lot of NASA stuff, and listen, I'm not saying that we're not living on a globe, or at least an oblate spheroid, as Neil deGrasse Tyson says. But have you ever noticed how spasticated that guy gets whenever you throw out the word flat Earth? He flips out like the way Robert De Niro flips out on irrationally. He flips out.
And so, yeah, that was quite a discussion about the shape of the Earth that these two individuals were having on a major podcast. So, like I said, Roger Avery is a major Hollywood film producer, and this could end up being epic if he ends up putting the idea of flat Earth into a major Hollywood production. And so the discussion actually continues after this, where they start talking about how rocket launches never go straight up in the air. So rockets always avoid crashing into the firmament, it looks like, because it always curves away. You'll never see a rocket just go straight up. Also, in this next segment I'm about to play for you, this is where you're going to see Joe Rogan actually identify the fisheye lens proof, where at first he was saying how he believes that you're seeing the curvature of the Earth from the space station, but they finally see in this next clip I'm about to play where the curvature of the Earth flips and inverts the opposite way of a globe curvature. So then Joe Rogan finally identifies that, yeah, he's not looking at real curvature when he's looking at space station footage of the Earth. There's no way the Earth could curve upwards instead of downwards if you're looking at footage from the space station, if it's authentic footage. So this gets Rogan's wheels turning in his head, and he starts to suggest maybe we're living in a simulated reality. And so this discussion goes on to talk about gravity, and they identify in this next segment that gravity is a theory. So everyone just believes in gravity, but really it's just weight and buoyancy and density. So things just fall because it's heavier than air, basically. And so this next discussion also talks about how we were taught since a child that we live on this spinning ball flying through outer space, circling around the sun in a heliocentric world. So Roger Avery is basically intrigued by this idea of everyone being just told what to believe their whole life. And instead, what we experience is only a flatness of this Earth. So Roger Avery obviously has looked very deeply into this subject. He even goes into talking about the Polaris star being in the center of the Earth and it never moves. So this is where you have the magnetic north, where all compasses are attracted to, this magnetic north area. And right above that, you have this Polaris star that never seems to move ever. And Joe Rogan suggests that it has moved before, thousands of years ago, but no one can prove that. It's just another form of belief. So this is also the portion of the interview where Roger Avery suggests that Joe Rogan interviews Eric Dubay. Roger also goes on to talk about how science can never prove or show that water can cling to a ball. So how can everyone believe such a thing if no one can ever demonstrate that in the real world? All you have is cartoon pictures of the Earth that show this, but you can't demonstrate that ever. Water always lays level and flat. And that's that. This discussion also talks about how are all space stations across the world in on it. And that's not so far out of a possibility. When you look at the Antarctic Treaty, all nations are in on it. They're all saying that they have jurisdiction over Antarctica, but yet no one can own it. And they have tight control over it, where they say who can come and go from there. So yes, it looks like this proves that all nations are indeed in on it. And then this discussion ends and concludes with Roger Avery and Joe Rogan discussing why would they lie, and it looks like they're concluding that this could be all about control of the population of this Earth. So let's watch the final segment of this discussion.
Curvature. It doesn't have curvature.
When you see a rocket launch, what does it do? It goes kind of sideways across the sky. And so, like, we've now seen that, pretty regularly, and that's because they're really not going above the troposphere, which,
well, I watched the SpaceX launch live. I was there. It went straight up in the air.
And then it curves and it travels sideways across the sky until it meets the horizon.
Well, it gets to a certain orbit, and then it traveled and dropped off in Australia 35 minutes later. I went to the
out of your view.
No, I watched the entire thing from the command center. I watched it from like 24 different cameras.
Mm-hmm. But live. How high did it go? Did it go above the troposphere? Not likely. Like this is
what
not
is
above
the troposphere?
This is like
what? How many miles is that up?
This is low Earth orbit. Where
right, but at low Earth orbit, Jesus Christ, that looks like a globe, huh?
But watch as the camera rotates.
This is also an edited video. I don't want to get stuck in this.
Right.
Space.
Like as Elon would say, it's real because it looks fake, or when it looks fake, that's when you know it's real.
Say that about Bigfoot then, bitch. Because Bigfoot looks fake as fuck, and it's definitely not real. You know what's real? That Turkish sharpshooter. That dude was like a G up in the corner. Press play. See what this is supposed to be.
It cuts.
It cuts.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, I see.
Yeah, it's
so
a
it cuts
highlight
a
video
bunch of
the
different
live
images.
See, now you can actually see an inversion occurring on the horizon right there.
A small piece of it.
Correct, but the lens distortion on the side of the frame is causing the horizon there
to go the opposite way,
to invert, and that's because of lens distortion.
I see what you're saying.
If it was,
and the fact of the matter is, even at the height that these are orbiting at, and I'm not saying like presuming a globular planet. And even the word plane, it's like a plane or the horizon is horizontal. Like, even presuming that, the height that they're at right now, you would still only see, a circular. You would see the limit of your vision, which has a
because it's so massive.
Yeah, because it's so massive. You're still high enough.
Well,
you're still not high enough to truly see curvature.
If we are in a simulation, and if consciousness it affects the reality of things, and they are only real if we are experiencing them. That's when things get really squirrely.
The testimony of your eyes.
Yeah.
Like, I know that I am here right now.
Not just the testimony of your eyes, but your consciousness interacting with reality is what creates it.
Correct. I mean,
that's where things get super squirrely.
How do you know gravity exists, for example?
Well, gravity's not clearly defined.
Correct.
Right? We understand the numbers.
Gravity is a concept, and it's a truly non-provable concept because you can prove the exact same thing through density and buoyancy. The density and buoyancy, make a lot of sense. How come the oceans, react the way they do and don't, it's not necessarily provable, but it's believable. You come to a certain point where you're like, okay, faith takes over at this point. My faith in gravity, my faith in the globe, because that's what's been told to me since I was a baby. At a certain point, that just takes over, and you and you accept that as a fundamental piece of what reality is, because we want to believe we understand the universe. What I'm saying is, we don't understand jack shit about the universe. We don't know anything, and all we do is we believe what they tell us, and they is just the cumulative understanding of how things are. But in ancient times, they had a different understanding of things, and that was how it was back then. And so, because they had no other way to describe
but
what
even then,
so reality is just
built things based on where the sun was going to be during the solar equinox. They also were aware of the precession of the equinoxes, which is the wobble of Earth's orbit. So Earth spinning around doesn't spin perfectly. There is a 26,000-year wobble, and you can predict it by the night sky.
And somehow Polaris remains centered in the sky, and all stars rotate around it. That's extraordinary. If we're traveling...
What do you mean? So during the precession of the equinoxes over a 26,000-year cycle, Polaris
it has remained in the exact same spot? And supposedly that's because that's where we're flying towards as a solar system as we travel through the galaxy in this complex dance of
the
planets.
Equinoxes, this wobble over a 26,000-year period, it will move in the sky.
Well, the point of Polaris will always remain where it is, directly
the point,
to
but
the
our
north.
Perspective of it will vary depending upon where we are in this 26,000-year cycle.
It undergoes a kind of penumbra of sorts, a kind of motion of sorts.
It changes.
Sort of a figure eight motion through time.
It changes. Look at it. It says right here, due to the 26,000-year axial precession cycle, the North Star changes over millennia. While Polaris is the current North Star, other stars have held this position, including Thuban, 3000 BC, and future stars will include Orion, Alderman, and Vega. So it's not the same star. It's just what is dependent upon where we are in the precession of the equinoxes. That's why.
Well, there
It's not that the Earth is flat.
I know it's true because it's on Google.
But it's not just that. We know where they've been able to accurately predict the motion of the precession of the equinoxes based on the constellations, which are clearly mapped out. So we understand this wobble. And this wobble may be responsible for cycles of Earth's climate, how things change and be dependent upon where the equator sits and where these poles sit and how it wiggles around.
Remember when we were younger, the sun was kind of yellow and orange, and now it's just like white? Like, reality is changing. I mean, things change.
The sun looks exactly the same to me.
Does? You think the sun is the same? To me, I
think pollution has affected it somewhat, especially if you live in L.A.
Well, there used to be more pollution, and so maybe that's an excuse of why the sun would be more yellow. But I've lived all over the world.
Did you see Epstein talking about gravity?
Oh, boy.
Oh, here we go. Here we go.
Hit me with it.
It's not. I don't know. It's very. I'll just say.
What does he have to say?
It's fun. It's only 45 seconds.
I just let it go. So someone's pushing the ball, because I know that I am confident that the only thing that gets something to move is with a force that pushes. So there's a force that's pushing the ball down. In fact, he called it gravity. He measured how fast it was pulled, but never was able to explain why it happened. How is it? What is gravity? It's this. Everybody says, well, why did the ball fall to the ground? Because gravity took it. But what's gravity? That's, as Feynman would say, that's the name of the thing we have no idea what it is.
That's the end of that clip.
Or it's just density and buoyancy.
He was really into this topic, apparently.
Yeah.
Apparently.
He knew a lot about it.
You know who you should have on is Eric Dubé. Do you know who this guy is?
Oh, he's the flat Earth guy.
Yeah, he's the flat Earth guy. And he's written a book called 100 Proofs. And in order to prove something, you also have to prove things wrong.
You went down some rabbit holes, Roger Avery.
Look, I'm a screenwriter, and so I'm always looking for things like this to write stuff about. And so it's...
so in order to prove... In order to prove what?
Whenever you have a proof, you also have to disprove. And so, you know, he wrote a book called 100 Proofs about, you know, the nature of, you know, the Earth and how it is. And it has explanations for many of the things you're talking about.
Hasn't he debated people that actually understand how you can prove that the Earth is round?
He does it very calmly, and it infuriates people.
Right, but I don't think he's done well.
It's very enjoyable to watch because it's really funny.
But to people that are actual cosmologists, he's not performed well in these.
Well, the cosmologists will say things that still need to be, if you're making statements, you still need to disprove the other, the other proofs. Like,
right, but there's plenty of people that have disproven that the Earth is flat.
All I'm saying is
with simple experiments.
The Joe Rogan experience throughout life. You are really, like, when you go up into an airplane, I do not see the curvature of the Earth.
Well, you can't because of perspective, because you're so tiny.
Correct, because we're so tiny. So all I'm saying is that through experience, that the testimony of your eyes, you will never experience a globular Earth. You can't.
But you do experience
you will have to at a certain
effect
point
of a Earth that's a globe if you go to the other side of the Earth and it's dark out when it's sunny in California.
They've made models of how that could work on the flat.
Dorks have.
Dorks have made models.
But it doesn't line in with our understanding of cosmology. It doesn't line in with our understanding of our orbit around the sun.
That's assuming you believe that we orbit around the sun. And listen, I'm not saying that we don't orbit around the sun.
But
I'm not saying we don't live on a globular Earth.
But the numbers
don't
match.
Take me wrong.
But the numbers match. If you do assume that they're correct, that we orbit around the sun, but their calculations are completely accurate.
If they make the calculations on their flat Earth model as well, then you still have to prove that wrong.
Right, but is NASA doing that? Is MIT doing that? No.
Like, of all people to believe, the ones who are digitally stitching shit and saying, that's a government agency.
You went so deep with this, boy.
All I'm saying is my experience. You know, when I get on the plane later today and I'm flying back and I look outside, I'm going to see a flat, a flat horizon, a horizontal horizon before me, and when I land, and it's everything else is faith based.
Well,
That's all I'm saying.
it's not, though. It's science-based. It's based on data. It's
The
based
word
on our
science.
understanding.
The word science means observation. It
which
means
is
testimony
data, which
of
I'm
the eyes.
talking about, the measurements, data.
That data is so far removed, one, from my ability to understand, but from
you can
most people's ability
understand
to understand.
the circumference of the Earth, right? You can understand the numbers, and the
sure.
numbers line up exactly with how much time it would take for the Earth to go around in a day.
Sure. And
it works.
In what other experiment can you show me where water clings to a spinning ball? Like, that's kind of the classic flat earther thing that they'll ask you. Like, well, show me any other example
show me
of that.
a fucking ball that's 24,000 miles wide.
And the answer to that is gravity. And what he's talking about in that clip that you just showed is gravity is just sort of this idea that we came up with to justify that.
But there's clearly a force that does that,
That's
right?
density.
Just density?
Density.
Well, then how come these two things will fall at the same time if I drop them when this is far heavier? How come?
I do not have an answer for that.
Right. But gravity does, right?
Gravity is, like he said, it's just a measurement. It's a measurement of how things fall.
Right.
And
that measurement...
And the word that they invented, gravity, is just an explanation for how objects are pulled downward.
Right, but those objects...
How come...
If it was just density, wouldn't a heavier object drop faster?
Well, when
There's two balls. There's a bowling ball and feathers dropping in a vacuum, and they're falling at the exact same time.
How weird. Vacuum, no density. They both fall at the same time because of gravity, or whatever the force we call gravity is. But there is some sort of a force that we call gravity that can be measured in a vacuum.
Look how excited they all are.
Yeah, Brian Cox would be pissed if he was here right now. He'd be shitting.
Oh, no,
all
he'd
over
be...
you.
I'm not... Listen, I'm not... All I'm saying is that my experience in the world...
Of course, but your experience is based on perspective of being a tiny little thing on an enormous thing.
Correct.
Yeah.
That is correct.
Yeah.
That is
There's a
correct.
few YouTube channels that have broken down all of those flat Earth ideas too.
A
If you wanna
ton.
Go watch those. And
I tried years
the
ago and I gave up.
It
just-
is absolutely a rabbit hole, but what's interesting about it is that if you extract like the faith that you have in these kind of ideas, and you supplement it with the faith of these other ideas, they're exchangeable.
They're only exchangeable if you don't understand the data, and if you don't understand what's actually been measured, or if you don't understand the path of satellites, or if you don't understand how many different people would have had to lie about this shit and not achieve the same observational results that all these different space agencies have. That the idea that they're all in collusion, that Japan and India and even countries that hate each other, they're all in collusion on this lie that the Earth is round.
Well,
it seems much more likely that there's a bunch of people with schizophrenia that think that the Earth is flat, and they make these YouTube videos where they're very compelling because they're articulate and they use great words and they say it all in a nice way without being challenged by real facts along the way by someone who actually has studied this their whole life.
right. I still saw digital stitching on your example.
Yeah, it wasn't my example. It was some shit Jamie randomly pulled offline. That was weird, though. And that's perfect for this world that we live in, to have sort of a glitch like that.
But that's kind of what I'm getting at is there's so much out there is so much out there that it falls to faith. And it also, what does it really matter? That's kind of what I'm getting at ultimately, is what does all of that really matter? What does it matter to anybody that there's a cabal of 8,000 plus people who are secretly controlling the world and doing occultism?
So you see, that was quite a discussion about the shape of the Earth. Let me know in the comment section if you think Roger Avery will write a script that includes information about the shape of the Earth. And also let me know if you think Joe Rogan will ever have Eric Dubé on the show. I'll leave a link in the comment section if you want to check out my playlist that includes other major Flat Earth testimonies. I also leave a link to my over 200 Flat Earth proofs. Make sure you share those playlists with everyone you know. And if you want to check out my members only videos, you're going to help support this channel by doing so. You can join my YouTube membership for as little as $1 and gain access to all of my members only videos. Let's get over 500 likes on this video. Make sure you subscribe. I'm going to leave links to my free email newsletters, my social media, my Feed Your Mind store and everything like that. Thank you for tuning in. This has been Feed Your Mind, signing off.